Hey folks, welcome back to my channel. This is MahfuzVanGogh, your Dredge guy, and today I have something different. I am playing with Blue Dredge 4.5. So each week a new version of my favorite deck now. And why I'm testing new things? Well, after testing last week's deck with only 3 bridges, I told you guys at the end of the video, I believe, I told you that I thought that maybe we can even reduce even more our copies of Bridge from Below, because Bridge from Below in this build works more as a combo synergy card and less as a finisher with trying to just create many zombies. And so this build tries to do this at the best. We have Breakthrough returning to this deck. We have 4 copies of Poxwalkers. We have Eco Read in the main deck. And we still have Thassa's Oracle, Satoru, 2 Dread Return. But now we don't have Force of Will in the main deck. We have Force of Will in the sideboard. So we can accommodate cards here and there, just building a new version of this deck. And I think this can be a good idea right now, because we have a combo finish. We have Satoru the Infiltrator, we have Thassa's Oracle, and we have Dread Return and Poxwalkers. Maybe this is the ultimate Poxwalkers Dredge deck. I think 4 copies of Poxwalkers will finally be used in this deck. I believe this is maybe a route that we can follow from now on, because every time I reanimate Satoru, I usually win the game, and it's not that difficult to do it when you have 4 Poxwalkers. Poxwalkers enters the battlefield immediately, and sometimes you have Bridge from Below, but you don't have ways to sacrifice creatures in the same turn. Maybe you don't have Cabal Therapies. But Poxwalkers are more reliable than Bridge from Below to have creatures in the same turn, because you don't need Cabal Therapy. You can just flashback an Otherworldly Gaze, for example. So Poxwalkers enter the battlefield immediately. We don't need to wait one more turn. But Eco Read is here. Maybe we will find some cases that we didn't find the right tools to win on the same turn, and we wait one more turn, and our best friend Eco Read is there, holding us, putting us ahead of the game, because we need a single creature to just cast a Cabal Therapy and then put all of our Poxwalkers back into the game and combo off. So this is a combo build, and I always told my patrons and people who follow me, people who ask me about the deck, I always told you, I always told you what? That Blue Dredge is not a combo deck. Blue Dredge is a tempo/graveyard deck. But this build, Blue Dredge 4.5, this build is standing more to the combo side, and that's why now I have Breakthrough instead of Force of Will. Force of Will is in the sideboard, of course, but I just need to achieve the combo the fastest way possible, and I think this build maybe will achieve that. I even included Lotus Petal here, like other LED Dredge builds already have. A Lotus Petal will help us to play around days, and sometimes it will just put ourselves into a game-winning turn, because we can resolve multiple cards at once. So yeah, that's it. We still have 4 Otherworldly Gaze. To include what we have different here, we don't have Hogaak anymore, because Hogaak needs untapped black creatures to be cast, right? And if we have less Bridge from Below, less Eco Read, Hogaak is not a reliable card. So I don't have Hogaak even in the sideboard. I don't think Hogaak will hold this deck together. I think Hogaak will work better when we have 4 bridges, or maybe 3 bridges, but 2 bridges is too low for a Hogaak deck. And we even have 1 extra Golgari Thug. Traditionally, Dredge decks play with 12 Dredge cards in the main board, in the main deck. And I started to just take 1 Golgari Thug from the deck in past builds, because we need to fit all the cards. And when you don't have the rush to chain Dredgers, right? Because you will just resolve the cards, you don't need to have 12 Dredgers. But now I want to reach that point of, with a single Satoru, I want to chain my Dredgers until the end of my deck, and then I will just win with reanimated Thassa's Oracle. So I included back the 12th Dredger. So those are the difference between this and the previous deck featured here in this channel. I have now 3 Breakthrough, I have Eco Read in the main deck, I have 4 Poxwalkers, I still have the Dread Return package, and I have Lotus Petal. So to include these 7 cards, we have 1 Hogaak out of the deck. We don't have Force of Will in the main board, And we have one Brainstorm less. We don't have this Brainstorm. And something else that I'm not remembering now what was. But something else I also changed. And that's it. That's it. And now I think we can include Force of Will, Grief, and even Surgical Extraction to include Force of Will in the sideboard. I decided to get rid of Leyline of the Void for the very first time. This is almost something that I would never thought before. But this build is making me doing this new configuration. I think Surgical Extraction can be really strong in our deck when we also include Force of Will, because we can counter or discard our opponent's first threats, and then we can find our Surgical Extraction with one of our multiple enablers. And we still have 5 bounce spells for Leyline or other pesky cards that we see around. And that's it. That's pretty much it. I'm really confident with this deck. Before this league, I played 3 leagues with the same configuration. I wasn't recording because I couldn't, but I did 4-1 in my very first league, and then I did another 4-1, and then I did a 2-3 because I was playing at lunchtime, and eating and playing at the same time is not a good idea. We can get distracted easily. But yeah, now I am confident to try again. Maybe this is our time to record this and have a good time. And I hope you enjoyed this league. Click the like button, subscribe, leave a comment below if you're excited to keep trying the best Dredge deck to find. Let's try to find the best Dredge deck in Legacy. Let's do it. Let's go right now. Alright, let's start this first match. This hand unfortunately is a mulligan. Okay, this is a keep. We are on the play. We have 3 lands. I think I prefer my 3rd land instead of my other Dredger, especially because I will need to find my action spells with this Otherworldly Gaze. Let's play Flooded Strand and pass the turn. And then I will crack Flooded Strand on my opponent's upkeep, taking my first basic island. And since we have lots of lands here, let's just see what my opponent plays first. Okay, this is a tempo deck. Vicious Bubble shows me that this is a tempo deck. My opponent cracks a bubble to see their own top deck and passes a turn. Okay, so let's cast this Otherworldly Gaze on my opponent's end step. My opponent cracks a Scouting Tarn. And that's okay if my opponent dazes me here, because my spell has flashback. Yeah, this is a daze. And at the end of all things resolved, I will have more spells than my opponent. My opponent enjoys the moment to just cast their own Brainstorm. And now it's my turn. I will play my Polluted Delta, crack it. I will take my 2nd basic island, and I will cast my Otherworldly Gaze on my opponent's upkeep. Now that I know that my opponent is playing a tempo deck. Oh, my opponent will force it, exiling a 2nd daze. Okay, so little by little we are taking my opponent's cards from their hand. My opponent cracks a 2nd fetch land. Now they have a Volcanic Island, and we just have another Dredger. Now I will crack my Scalding Tarn to take Underground Sea, and I will play Breakthrough with X equals to 1. My opponent cannot daze me again. They need Force of Will. They Brainstorm in response. And let's see if they found... No? Okay. Oh, drawing 2 Narcomoebas is unfortunate. But now we have a Careful Study to keep things going. Let's discard all the other cards. Yeah. And I will cast Careful Study. Yeah, it resolves immediately. And my opponent just concedes. Too strong. Too strong. My opponent did counter 3 of my spells, but the 4th one, they couldn't counter it. Okay, so now let's go to our sideboarding. So against Delver, we want all of our copies of Grief. Grief is amazing, and I used to be only 2 or 3 Grief. Now we have 4. So let's shave 1 Poxwalkers, 1 Breakthrough, 1 Thug. I will not shave my Lotus Petal because it is good to play around days. So the last card, 1 Satoru probably? Yeah, let's just take 1 of each. 1 Threat, 1 Dredger, 1 Enabler, and 1 combo piece. And we are not reanimating Grief in our deck, at least not usually. We have Dread Return, of course. This is a keep on the draw. We have some options here according to what my opponent do. They crack Misty for a Volcanic Island, and okay, Dragon's Rage Channeler. My opponent kept 7 cards. So now I'll probably just discard Golgari Thug, especially now that I have 2 Brainstorms. This Narcomoeba will probably just go back to our top deck at some point, and we will dredge it. So my opponent ponders. Darcy kept 1 card on top. Okay, my opponent didn't shuffle and played another Dragon's Rage Channeler. Okay, So this can be really fast if my opponent have another Mishra's Bubble like in the first games, but now with 2 Darcy's in game. Oh, they will immediately Surgical Extraction. They cast Surgical targeting Golgari. Okay, we have 3 of them. We still can win this game. But my opponent have a really fast clock now. We are going to 17 life. And my opponent passes. Now it's our turn. We need a good draw here. Okay, Otherworldly Gaze is a good start. So let's play it immediately before my opponent can draw extra cards or do something with the top of the deck, manipulate their top. Let's cast this Gaze. Okay, it immediately resolves, and we have great cards on top. Since I already have 3 enablers and my opponent didn't have any counter spells, let's just mill those Careful Studies. This seems a crazy thing to do, but I need to dig for more Dredgers, since my opponent just had cast a Surgical Extraction targeting Golgari. Ouch! My opponent deals 6 damage. This is turn 3. Oh, they have Murktide. Okay, but we can be really fast here if my opponent don't have counter spells. We can cast double Brainstorm on our turn, or 1 Brainstorm and 1 Breakthrough. Let's see if this Stinkweed Imp will chain with all the Dredgers. We dredge 5. Okay, we hit 1 other Stinky and 1 Golgari Grief Troll. So I will not play Cephalic Coliseum here, because I think that probably we will not use it soon. Combining Brainstorm and Breakthrough, we can mill our entire deck now. Let's see if this Brainstorm resolves. My opponent has 3 cards, and it resolves. We will dredge 6 and dredge 6 again, and dredge 5. And we... okay, we don't have other Dredgers in our graveyard, but I still can put 1 Dredger and 1 Narco, and I will cast a Cabal Therapy targeting me, yeah, to discard both Grave Trolls. These Poxwalkers will come back to the battlefield, and I will have 1 zombie. Unless my opponent... oh, my opponent will... oh, will hit me with the lightning bolt. Okay, my opponent probably thought that I was targeting them with my Cabal Therapy. This is a common mistake. In Magic Online, not every player always look to the game log. So yeah, I will just discard my both Grave Trolls. My opponent has the win, but I can probably win from here. Let's cast this Breakthrough, because I could already reanimate Satoru. But after this Breakthrough resolving, yeah, we will just win the game. Oh, I can mill my entire deck. Exactly. I don't even need Satoru to win with this Breakthrough. Breakthrough is amazing. Let's discard anything, really. Okay, I think my opponent is just conceding here. Yeah, my opponent concedes. This was fast. This was fast. We are 2-0 on our first match. Let's go to our second game. If you enjoy my content, I will encourage you to go check my Patreon. This way you can help me as a content creator, but also have access to all my articles, sideboard guides, new videos, and also everything that I discover about Dredge. When I build a new deck like this one, you'll have access first. I want to take this opportunity to say thank you to all my patrons that you can see here on this page. Now, back to the games. Okay, this is our second match against Cedix. And this hand is almost good, but with 2 Narcomoebas I cannot keep this hand on the play. Okay, this is better. This is not perfect. We cannot start things with Careful Study. But this Otherworldly Gaze will find us what we need. Let's put Ichorid on the bottom. And let's remember that in case we... or maybe, you know what? Let's put Cabal Therapy, because we probably... Yeah, I think I did the right choice. With Double Therapy, we don't know what my opponent is playing. But I think I will just start with Otherworldly Gaze, and next turn I can cast Cabal Therapy and Careful Study. Let's play this basic island before passing the turn, of course. And on my opponent's upkeep, I will try to resolve Gaze. This is the opposite compared to our last match. This time I really need to resolve this Gaze. I don't have access to double basic island here, so I will not expose myself to Wasteland or Daze. I try to cast my spells before that. Okay, it resolves, and perfect. We have Dredger, or other therapy, second therapy, and Cephalic Coliseum for next turn. So let's keep Cephalic Coliseum on top and pass the turn. My opponent plays a Volcanic Island. Is this another tempo deck? Yeah, it is. Dragon's Rage Channeler. This time is going to fight since the beginning of the game. And my opponent passes. No bubble for them. I will not dredge. I will just draw Cephalic Coliseum, but let's wait a little bit here. And now what? I can cast Cabal Therapy targeting my opponent. I will name Force of Will here, because I noticed that my opponent did a small pause when I tried to resolve Otherworldly Gaze, and they didn't have Daze available. So I'm betting they have a Force of Will. Let's see. Force of Will. Yeah. 2 forces. All right. So this Cabal Therapy was amazing. And now let's resolve our Careful Study. We dredge 5. We dredge 4. And that's it. No Narcomoebas, unfortunately, but we have 2 Poxwalkers there. So next turn with Cephalic Coliseum, it will be good. I will not discard Ichorid, trying to be lucky here, because we already have 2 Poxwalkers. My opponent's deck is not perform nothing that fast, I believe. They will probably just hit my Underground Sea with Wasteland, and then cast Brainstorm, or on the opposite order. So they are casting Brainstorm. Lightning Bolt goes to the graveyard. My opponent draws 3 cards. They need other land to cast Murktide. Wasteland is not enough. So they will Wasteland me, I believe. Yeah. But the best land is in our hand. Okay, my opponent attacks me dealing 1 damage. That's fine. You can take a bite. And now it's our turn. We will dredge 5. Okay, no Narcomoebas yet. Let's crack Cephalic Coliseum. Targeting this player, me. And now my opponent cannot do anything. We just need 1 Narco to win this game. Because, yeah, dredge 5. If we have Narcomoeba, we already have Bridges and Cabal Therapies and Poxwalkers. Okay, we also need a Dredge Return. We cannot hit any one of these. Come on, deck. My deck is betraying me. After 36 cards, no Dredge Return, no Narcomoeba. We already have 3 Poxwalkers. We have Satoru. We have many Dredgers. Otherworldly Gaze. Cabal Therapy. We just need to hit 1 Narco. And this is a good situation to see how Ichorid will perform in the main deck. And these rare cases where my deck will just not hit the pieces of the puzzle. Okay, my opponent found another land. Oh, instead of going for Murktide, they will Brainstorm instead. Okay. Do they have Stifle? Trying to stifle my win? Instead of going for Murktide, they are going to cast Brainstorm instead. They are trying to hit something here. Okay, Brainstorm is going to the graveyard. My opponent attacks dealing 1 damage. Only 1 damage again. And what else? Passes. Alright. Let's see if my opponent will stifle my Ichorid. They are thinking here. Okay, it will resolve. Let's exile a Thug. And then we'll dredge 5. This Narcomoeba can enter the battlefield. And now we still don't have any Dredge returns. Okay, so let's try to win on using our other threats. My opponent is casting Unholy Heat, targeting... Alright, targeting Darcy. This is too early for that. My opponent should wait until I sacrifice one of our creatures. So in response, they should do it to exile our Bridges. But doing now is too early for that. My opponent could just wait a little bit more. It will not make a difference. But this just shows that my opponent probably is not used to play against Dredge. Now let's attack first, because we will probably win this game just by attacking our opponent. And with all of our Poxwalkers and Cabal Therapies, we will have a bunch of zombies and we will strip my opponent's hand. Yeah, 3 damage. Go, Ichorid. Old-fashioned Ichorid. Now we sacrifice Ichorid, or 4 Poxwalkers will enter the battlefield. So this is just a beautiful sequence, right? You have a Horror Ichorid coming back on your upkeep, and then you sacrifice your creature. Let's spell Murktide Regent correctly, okay? And then your Horror dies, and it will put 4 zombies into the battlefield. My opponent had a Questing Druid, but this is just too slow at this point, and they are just conceding the game. Alright, let's sideboard again. So 2 tempo decks in a row. Do I try something different, only for testing? I don't think so. I think this is already good. I think I will just include Grief like before. Let me think for a moment. Sometimes we can think about Force of Will on the draw, of course, because my opponent can have turn 1 Gravedigger's Cage. But I think that doing this is too defensive, especially because my opponent will certainly have Dazes, Force of Will, and Force of Negation. So, and this deck can win even against the Gravedigger's Cage. Of course, it will be hard. It will be tough, but we can win against the Gravedigger's Cage. So let's do the same here, just Grief, and we take a little bit of everything from our deck. 1 Breakthrough, 1 Poxwalkers, 1 Satoru, and 1 Dredger. Yeah, and let's submit the deck back. We could take the combo finish from our deck, but since we have only 2 Bridges now, I think this is not reliable enough, because especially against Delver, because they have Lightning Bolt and Unholy Heat. This version also plays Unholy Heat, so it's probably better to not trust only in 2 Bridges as our finishers. And we don't have Hogak in this build, so our plan A is still doing the combo. Of course, we can win like last match, but in last game, but our first plan is just to combo our opponent. Alright, this is a terrific hand. Alright, 2 Grief, 2 Dredgers, 2 Enablers, 1 land. Can we win? My opponent plays Flooded Strand. My opponent also kept 7 cards. If they don't have Gravedigger's Cage, I think we are favored to win. Only a Delver of Secrets. That probably means that my opponent have counterspells, right? Oh, we just have Grave Troll right now, so let's win this game. I will cast Grief, exiling Thug. This Grief will guarantee that we can resolve our first Careful Study, I hope. Okay, my opponent will Daze now. I will pay for these Daze, I think. We could just ignore Daze and try to cast Careful Study here, but I think since we have 2 enablers and we can have only a basic island here to protect ourselves from a Wasteland, I think I'll just pay for Daze. My opponent can have something weird like Unlicensed Hearse or something like that. So let's see my opponent's hand. And maybe they have Surgical Extraction and are just trying to protect their Surgical. Oh no! Okay, so let's take Pyroblast so we can resolve our Careful Studies then. My opponent has only 1 land. So if this Delver can't flip, life is good. Okay, good Delver, good Delver. Keeping restrained of flipping. My opponent plays Volcanic Island and attack, dealing 1 damage. And now they will probably play other Delver unless they have other draw. Okay, 2 Delvers. Let's draw. Oh, and Mishra's Bubble. Alright, so now we know for sure what my opponent has in their hand. And 2 Murktides. Breakthrough is amazing, so let's cast this Careful Study. Let's resolve it. Another black card. Amazing. Let's discard 2 Grave Troll. Unfortunately, we don't have a second land. You know what? I will not cast Grief right now, because I know that my opponent only have Murktide, and Murktide is useless at this point. Let's wait a little bit. Maybe my opponent will draw now the Bubble card and the draw for the turn. Okay, they will order triggers to flip those Delvers. Oh, they couldn't flip Delver. So my opponent probably had some mix of creatures and lands and no spells. Alright, so they hit us dealing 2 damage. So far so good. Another Volcanic. They cannot cast Murktide yet. They start paying for something but stopped. Okay, Dragon's Rechanneler. And they still have 2 Murktides. Again, this extra Grief is expendable. I'm not sure if I will cast this other Grief. Let's just dredge here. Do I try to go for it casting Breakthrough? I have only 1 Grave Troll. But we have extra dredgers than usual, right? Oh no, because I took 1 Golgari Thug. I think I'll try to do the thing. Oh, let's guarantee that our opponent will have only 1 Murktide, since I will discard my whole hand. This is probably risky, but the way we lose this game is if my opponent flip Delvers and Darcy become a 3/3, and then they just draw Graveyard Hate, and we can lose this game. So let's cast the Breakthrough, let's resolve Breakthrough, and hope here to chain Dredgers. Dredge 6, and Dredge 5. Alright, we have the win. Oh, and Dredge 5 of course, because Breakthrough will draw 4 cards. Breakthrough is amazing. Especially because we are trying to hit our deck or graveyard in a faster way than before. Both Narcomoebas can enter the battlefield. Let's see our graveyard. I already have some Poxwalkers and Cabal Therapy, 1 Dredge Return, no Satoru, but we will probably don't need Satoru here to win. Let's take my opponent's last card. 3 Poxwalkers comes back. We will have 1 Rage Trigger. I will name Murktide Regent. Yeah. And now, do I cast some Dredge Return here? We have 2. We already have the win at this point. My opponent don't have any other cards. I think I will reanimate this Liquid Imp as a blocker. Again, I think we already have this game in our pocket. This game is ours, except if my opponent just finds a Gravedigger's Cage or something on top of the deck. So I think I will guarantee that I can cast those Dredge Returns right now. And this game is ours. Maybe I cast only 1, let's say. Now we have 2 flyers to block. I think I'll just pass here. If my opponent attacks, we already have lethal. We have 1 Acorite coming back next turn. Okay, a Lightning Bolt. This is not gonna do it. This is not going to be enough. My opponent needs so much more than Lightning Bolt here. Okay, my opponent is thinking. Darcy's attack is mandatory. They need to attack with Darcy. We can even block with 2 creatures. Maybe my opponent kills both of them just to have more zombies. We don't need to do it because we have only 1 bridge in our graveyard. Okay, so let's see what my opponent does. Oh, they will attack with Delver. Alright, so let's block 2 creatures. We kill Darcy. My opponent deals 3 damage. Let's order those triggers correctly. So I can have 2 new zombies and then kill one of my opponent's creatures. My opponent has only Lightning Bolt. They are thinking about firing this Lightning Bolt now. Okay, targeting me. Alright, that's fine. and they mill another Dragon's Rage Channeler, but we have more than lethal now. Our bridge is exiled. Physical Raid will come back. Alright, my opponent does the math, and we won our second match in a row against same deck, other opponent. And this just proves what I always say, that Dredge, especially Blue Dredge, is really, really good against Tempo decks. Let's go to our third match. Let's keep going. Alright, this is our third match. Oh, this hand is really good. We don't have treasures yet, but we'll find them. We'll find them. And my opponent is playing on the draw. We are on the play again. This is a beautiful sequence of 3 enablers. We'll find whatever we need, and then we will win, hopefully. We even have 2 Cabal Therapies here. My opponent is thinking about their starting hand, and while they do that, I'm thinking here if I'll crack this Polluted Delta for going for a basic island or an Underground Sea. I'm not sure, because maybe we need a black mana here at some point, since we already have 2 Cabal Therapies in our starting hand. Maybe, yeah, let's see what my opponent will do. No, let's crack it now for an Underground Sea. I think I will resolve right now this other gaze. Let's see if this resolves. Okay, it resolved, and we found our basic island. Alright, now we are safe. Even if my opponent plays with Wasteland, we have ways to keep going. No dredgers yet, but we already have an Arco and a Bridge. Oh, once upon a time, alright. So this is a green deck, maybe Cradle Control? Elvish Reclaimer? Alright, this is going to be tough. Alright. What? Oh, my opponent passed the turn. So maybe they needed another land with that once upon a time? No, because they just discarded a Gaia's Cradle. Alright, I think this was my opponent's mistake. We have nothing with that. Playing Magic Online. Alright, let's name Elvish Reclaimer here. Yeah, this is Cradle Control, of course. My opponent had many lands. This was a misclick. Unfortunately, I cannot just come back and let my opponent put a land into play. But this is Magic Online. I did things like that in the past. So let's attack with Necromoeba first, and then let's strip our opponent's hand. We already took Elvish Reclaimer from my opponent's hand, and we can take 2 more cards here. I'll take Green Sun Zenith first. Poxwalkers will enter the battlefield, and we have a zombie. This is one of those games that we can win without dredging. Maybe. So, Green Sun Zenith, and now we can take Nubble. Let's order our triggers. It doesn't matter, but we need to... Yeah, my opponent just conceded the game. Yeah, after that mistake, it's really hard to come back. And it's huge for us, because now we only need to win 1 of our other games. This is one of our hardest matchups, because my opponent have not only Elvish Reclaimer and Green Sun Zenith and Endurance, but also Fiend Artisan. So this game can be really tough to win, even after winning our first game. So let's not celebrate yet. This is really hard. This is probably a 20-80 matchup. I need to include Grief, and I need to include Force of Will. So let's see if our control package after sideboarding will do something good for us. I almost want to include Surgical Extractions as well, not only Forces and Grief, but I'm not sure, because this will dilute too much of our deck. So 1 Poxwalkers will get out for sure. My opponent don't play that many Wastelands, so I think I can take Lotus Petal and Thug and Satoru, and 1 Gaze. What else? Other Breakthrough instead of Gaze. Gaze is good. Better than Breakthrough when we have Force of Will. And maybe another Thug or another Poxwalkers. Especially on the draw, we need to be really defensive against this deck. And my opponent, after sideboarding, will have access to at least 2 Endurance, probably 4. And they also have many tutors. So yeah, this is hard. Did I say that this is one of our toughest matchups? Alright, let's submit and try to win the game. Alright, okay. This is not perfect, but this is skippable. If my opponent couldn't start with an Elvish Reclaimer on turn 1, this hand is really good. I can take 2 or more cards from my opponent's hand. They play a fetch land, basic forest. Once upon a time, okay, so they don't need lands. They already have them. Fiend Artisan, okay, this is a turn 2 play. What? Oh no! They have Soulless Jailer with an Elvish Spirit Guide. Alright, this is new. This is new technology. Alright. They have a mana accelerator. Alright. So how can we win now? With only 2 bridges it will be hard, but this is not an attacking creature. This is only a wall. So let's take my opponent's Fiend Artisan with this Cabal Therapy and see if we need to worry about anything else. Okay, they have only Nubble and another Once Upon a Time. So I think I will just pass the turn here. I will not exile Poxwalkers because maybe we need to hardcast Grief at some point. We don't have removal, especially for a 0/4 creature. I'm not playing Harvester of Misery, and Harvester of Misery will not kill Soulless Jailer. My opponent plays a Misty Rainforest, cracks it for a Bayou. Oh, they had another Fiend Artisan? Alright. Yeah, this is not a good news to our deck. Let's draw Narcomoeba. Alright, we can just cast Narcomoeba, I suppose. Now what? Let's play this basic island here and cast Careful Study. We need another black mana, or... Alright, let's discard Grave Troll because we cannot cast it. And I think I'll discard Narcomoeba here because a single one flying will not win us the game. I'm thinking about giving up here and just going for our third match because... But at the same time, okay, let's resolve this Brainstorm first. I'll dredge 6, of course, and dredge 5, and dredge 6 again. Because now I just want to put a Bridge from Below in our graveyard. We have some ways to win this game. One of them is just having zombies. Other way is just having many creatures and attacking with them, like 3/2 menace creatures and Poxwalkers with Death Touch, and some dredge creatures like Synquid Imp with some similar to Death Touch. But another way is just to meeting our entire deck and naturally drawing Thassa's Oracle and cast Thassa's Oracle from our hand. My opponent plays Nubble and attacks. Alright. Hey, it seems weird. Soulless Jailer has no other text besides being a pain to our graveyard. But my opponent will probably just find something with this Fiend Artisan, right? Yeah, probably Elvish Reclaimer. Because Reclaimer can just find Cradle. They need Cradle to win with Fiend Artisan. Desecrate cannot come back. And Elvish Reclaimer can find Bojuka Bog if they feel the need. So yeah, this game is probably over. But at the same time, I still want to see my opponent's deck a little bit more. Because they had Elvish Spirit Guide. I don't know how many of those guides they have. Let's just cast Poxwalkers here. I'll not cast Grief, I don't think I need to. We still don't have any bridges in our graveyard. And this is probably our last chance to exile something with as a pitch to Grief and then having zombies. Because my opponent now will probably hold this Elvish Reclaimer forever. Okay, Green Sun's in for 0, this is an Arbor. Now my opponent can even sacrifice Dryad Arbor just to get rid of our bridges and have another land. And that's exactly what they gonna do. They will not attack because my creature have a Death Touch, has Death Touch. Do I dredge or do I draw? Let's dredge, I think. Okay, we have one bridge. I can try to resolve the Grief here, exiling other card. My opponent is not attacking. They will try to combo us in a couple of turns. I can Craxify the Coliseum, meeting almost my entire deck, hoping that one of my last cards is Thassa's Oracle, so I can, yeah. At this point, I think this is my best shot here. Let's dredge. No Thassa's Oracle, alright. We need to dredge almost our entire deck and naturally draw a Thassa's Oracle. Dredge 5, no Thassa's Oracle, alright. 11 cards left. And dredge 4, no other choice. Alright, no Thassa's Oracle. Of course, my opponent will win in a couple of turns, so we don't have much time to win with Thassa's Oracle. And those Griefs are not that good. Maybe if I force my opponent to just go for a Bojuka Bog here. Let's see what they do. I cast Grief, reaching one of my black creatures. Now we already have 2 bridges. Let's see if my opponent will do something in response. No? Okay, we force them to discard that Once Upon a Time. Now we have 2 triggers from bridge. Of course, only 2 zombies will probably not win this game, but maybe my opponent fears that I can do something with 2 zombies. Maybe I have a Hogak in my hand, I don't know. And they maybe feel the need to just go for Bojuka Bog here. And this way they will need 1 extra turn to... Okay, maybe just exiling our bridges are enough. Yeah, they don't need to go for a Bojuka Bog. Yeah, Cradle. Alright, so my opponent has nothing in their hand, but they can probably win, right? Let's attack with these Poxwalkers, because only a 3/1 Death Touch will not hold against large creatures with Trample. Unless my opponent don't have Wetterhoof Behemoth in their deck for some reason. Maybe they just cut it out. This is our only hope. What? My opponent will cast Green Sun Zenith with X equals 3. This is an Endurance. Alright, so now we cannot win with Thassa's Oracle anymore. Nice shot. Yeah. Yeah, now I don't know if my opponent just read this in my attitude here, or is just another safety play. to really invalidate any of our plays. Yeah, but this is smart. But for a moment I thought that my opponent had the win, because they have Cradle, they have 3 creatures, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana. Yeah, maybe this is not enough. So let's cast here something. Think with ink. Let's cast another creature. I imagine that now my opponent will have the win next turn, but I still just want to see my opponent's deck a little bit more. Why not? Let's attack, right? Maybe my opponent blocks with a Soulless Jailer. It's a 0/4 after all. Okay, my opponent activates Elvish Reclaimer. For another Arbor, they have 2 in their deck probably. They play another land. Now I imagine that they have the win. Alright, a Surveil land. They have access now to 5, 6, 7, 8 mana. They could have access to 9 mana. This should be a win. Maybe my opponent got their calculation wrong, the wrong math here, because they tried to do something and then gave up. They tapped Gaia's Cradle and then just gave up. So maybe my opponent will attack with Endurance. Alright, I will definitely block. Let's block Endurance with my Think with Imp. It will probably force my opponent to go for a second Endurance here. So let's not celebrate. Yeah, they are going for another Endurance here. They need 1 extra mana. Yeah, they need to pay 1 extra mana than X. X plus 1. Yeah? Okay. A second Endurance. How many do you have in our deck? This is only the second. And my opponents still have access to Bojuka Bog, unless they don't play Bojuka Bog for some reason. Let's draw. And Akumuiba, alright. So I will play my Golgari Thug. And this time I will not attack, because maybe my opponent attacks and I block with 2 creatures. And then I'll just put Poxwalkers on top of my deck. I'll hold this till the end, guys. I'll hold this till the end. My opponent plays Windswept Heath. And now they have the win, right? No? They don't even attack. I'm starting to think that they don't have a winning condition anymore. Because now they had the mana. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh no, because they don't have Dried Arbor anymore. Alright. So they need 1 more mana to tour Craterhoof. Alright, so let's cast this Careful Study. Nothing good. Okay, let's discard both Cabal Therapies. Or maybe an Akumuiba, because now, yeah. I've just passed a turn again. My opponent don't know my cards, right? This is turn 8. Please, opponent, kill me. Come on, come on. Alright, now they are going for the kill. 2 Cradles should be enough. Yeah? Oh, finally. Alright, we can concede here. My opponent will attack, of course. This is more than lethal. Yeah, this match is not easy. But now we will start on the play. Do we change something in our deck? Let's think for a moment. I'm not sure. I kind of want to include some breakthroughs back. And maybe Lotus Petal. Maybe you can have a turn 2 against a single Elvish Reclaimer. But I still feel the need of having both Griff and Force of Will in my deck against this deck. We could include Poxwalkers back, maybe 1 copy, and maybe take Force of Wills from our deck. Maybe only Griffs are enough. But if my opponent have more than 2 answers, only Griff will not hold it. You know what? No fear. No fear. Let's submit the deck without Force of Will. So now we have 3 Poxwalkers, Breakthrough, more Enablers, and Grief. Yes, I would like to play first. Alright. We cannot say no here. Unfortunately, I think I'll keep Dredge Return as a pitch to Grief. I think I need to, because maybe I need this Grief after I cast this Careful Study. So this Grief will resolve, of course. My opponent doesn't have counter spells. Now what? They also kept 7 cards. Oh no! This is a great starting hand against us. Of course, we'll take Endurance because it's something that my opponent can do now, right? But now we need another black card to take that Elvish Reclaimer. Yeah, Cabal Therapy will be exiled, of course. Let's discard Akumuiba and Grave Troll. But I am not confident. I still believe in my deck, but my opponent now can just cast Green Sun Zenith on turn 2 and have Elvish Reclaimer regardless. Yeah, my opponent can even cast Once Upon a Time and find another, I don't know, maybe a Bojuka Bog or maybe another Reclaimer. My opponent starts with Once Upon a Time, maybe trying to hit exactly Bojuka Bog with Elvish Spirit Guide. So okay, not Elvish Reclaimer, but now my opponent can cast Green Sun Zenith with X equals to 1 right now. They don't need to wait 1 turn. Why they should wait 1 more turn? Of course not. Alright, let's find exactly Poxwalkers and Otherworldly Gaze. Poxwalkers, but no Otherworldly Gaze. Alright. We don't have a flashback spell. So we'll just pass the turn here. Maybe my opponent wait until we have the chance to reanimate these Poxwalkers. Let's see, they play Bio and pass. We'll dredge. They will let us dredge. Yeah? Dredge 6. Alright, no flashback spell yet. This is a great moment to just go for a Bojuka Bog because I have many Dredges, I have Ichorid, I have Poxwalkers, and Narcomoeba. But my opponent, if they don't have anything else, yeah, I think they will wait a little bit more. Probably trying to hit Bridge from Below or other huge spell. Let's attack. We are winning. We have 20 life, my opponent has 19. We are ahead. Okay, my opponent will now crack, activate Elvish Reclaimer and go. They still can go for a Bojuka Bog, but they decided to go for a Cradle. Okay, this is a combo piece. They have a Ignoble Hierarch, and 3 other cards. My opponent plays Wooded Foothills and Ignoble Hierarch. Now they have 2 unknown cards. They pass the turn, holding Elvish Reclaimer again. This Ichorid will be brought back, of course. I will just exile Grief. Let's see if my opponent now will hit Elvish Reclaimer. We will Dredge, of course. Dredge 5. No flashback spell yet, alright. Okay, let's attack here and force. My opponent can block with Elvish Reclaimer and activate Elvish Reclaimer here. Then Elvish Reclaimer will get bigger. Yeah, they could do that. Let's see if they will do that. Maybe my opponent just don't want to. Maybe they don't want to activate Elvish Reclaimer in the middle of the combat, so maybe we can hit my opponent with 3 other damage. They will crack Wooded Foothills, maybe for Dryad Arbor. No, just a Surveil Land, of course. They are digging for something. They left 1 card on top. Okay, so if they activate Elvish Reclaimer right now, the card that they left on top will be shuffled back, right? So maybe it's a good card, but not something that they need right now. Maybe. Okay, they are going for Dryad Arbor. Ichorid dies. We are still ahead because we have 20 life and my opponent has 16. Let me believe in that. Let's keep a positive thinking. My opponent will hold this Bojuka Bog until... Okay, they will attack with Dryad Arbor until it's too late for us, I believe. Okay, now is probably our best chance because we are going deep into our deck. It's our last chance to find something to reanimate these Poxwalkers at instant speed. Let's exile Grief, and I will Dredge here. 6 cards. Alright, now we have Adorable Gaze and Cabal Therapy and all their Poxwalkers. So maybe we can... I will not attack with Ichorid now. I shouldn't attack with Ichorid. I will still do it because I think my opponent will try to do something here. No. Alright, I was wrong. I attacked with Ichorid. My opponent probably now will try something. I still think I did the right move. Let's see if now they will go for a Bojuka Bog. No, Urza Saga. Alright, so those Poxwalkers will come back. Let's cast Otherworldly Gaze here. I need to do it right now before my opponent untaps Elvish Reclaimer. My opponent have 2 mana available yet, but they don't have crop rotation. I don't need to worry about it. Okay, both Poxwalkers are coming back, and this Otherworldly Gaze will resolve. Okay, now I'll definitely keep Cephalic Coliseum on top. I'm not sure about the other cards. If I think about my opponent's play pattern, they are always waiting until my turn to do something. So I think I will mill Poxwalkers. I'm not sure yet about Otherworldly Gaze. Let's see. Cephalic Coliseum. Yeah, let's mill Otherworldly Gaze too. Yeah, because I think my opponent will not activate Elvish Reclaimer. They will wait a little bit more. I'm trying to understand my opponent's head here. And oh, they have Force of Despair. Okay. Alright. Now my opponent can activate Elvish Reclaimer and just exile 3 Poxwalkers, Ichorid, Cabal Therapy, Dredgers, everything. They play Nubble. They attack with Arbor, an Exalted Dryad Arbor. They're going to pass the turn. My opponent's playing with Fire here. You know what? I think my opponent is trying to exile Bridges, but I have only 2 of them. So let's draw Cephalic Coliseum here. I think this is what my opponent is waiting for, Bridge from Below, because any player who played against Dredge at some point knows that Bridge is one of the best cards of the deck. And I think this is exactly what my opponent is trying to do. So I'll force them to do that right now. Because now I have Cabal Therapy and Otherworldly Gaze. So I'll keep Ichorid. I'll not sacrifice Ichorid, yeah. Let's sacrifice Narcomoeba. Let's see if my opponent will do something here. And if they finally activate Elvish Reclaimer, I will cast Otherworldly Gaze in response. And then I will have 3 Poxwalkers. And Ichorid. We'll still need an enabler to keep going from now, but we still have Thassa's Oracle, Dredge Return. Let's see. And we'll have 3, yeah. My opponent went for Bojuka Bog, but I have other flashback card. Poxwalkers is an amazing card. I love it. My opponent is trying to understand what I did. Yeah, I still have my Poxwalkers. I still have them. And alright, do I need... I'll keep Cabal Therapy, of course. I don't think I need Scalding Tarn. I think I still want Dread Return here. So let's keep Dread Return and Cabal Therapy. So I can cast Cabal Therapy next turn to put Golgari Grave Trolls into the graveyard. And then I can activate Cephalic Coliseum on the other turn. Of course, I need to hope that my opponent don't find anything else. This is Gaia's Control, Cradle Control deck. Oh, I still have to name something here. Green Sun Zenith. Only another land. Alright. This is weird, but I think we have the advantage now. Unless my opponent draw a Graveyard Hate or an Endurance. Because now we have 3 Death Touch creatures. And we have Cabal Therapy next turn, so if they die, I can just cast Cabal Therapy from my graveyard to have Poxwalkers back. I don't need to exile black creatures like I need to do with Eco Read. Of course, my opponent have Urza Saga, so maybe they have Graveyard Hate that costs 1 or 0. I hope they don't, because they have so many other things. They have Endurance, have Soulless Jailer, Ujukabog, but now they already used it. Alright, they are just building their second construct token. And okay, the boots. Lava Spur Boots. If you don't know this card yet, this is a new card. And equipped creature gets +1/+0, haste, and ward 1. I still have 15 lives, so my opponent attacks here. This is not the end of the world. I can just play defense next turn. Yeah, my opponent will hit me hard. This is putting me to 4 life. And now it's my turn. This Icorrid will wait a little bit more. Okay. Cabal Therapy, as expected, will just discard my Golgari Grave Trolls. I'm just thinking if I should attack with at least 1 creature here. Probably not, because my opponent have 3 creatures. Can I attack with a single Poxwalkers here? No. I think it's safer to just wait 1 more turn here. This game will not be decided by only 3 damage. Yeah, let's discard Grave Troll. Do I play this Cephalic Coliseum? I don't think my opponent has Wasteland. But they can have, right? And they have an Elvish Reclaimer. But if my opponent have a Wasteland tutored by Reclaimer, this Wasteland will enter the battlefield tapped. So I think I will, yeah. This is the right play. I will definitely have Cephalic Coliseum here, because even if my opponent tutors a Wasteland, this will not be useful until the next turn. And this allows me to have an extra land for some reason. I don't know, maybe my opponent plays something weird like Surgical Extraction. It's not common. I don't think they need to have that much Graveyard Hate. But maybe my opponent have, I don't know. Maybe they just Endurance me again and I just need to draw extra land next turn. My opponent is thinking for a long time here. They don't have an attack probably. If I win this, I will open a bottle of champagne or something like that. Because it's so difficult to win against this deck. But maybe Poxwalkers is just putting me ahead here. And this is because I waited until I could do the right thing to bring back every one of them. I have only 1 Dread Return in my deck. It's on top of my deck, I know that. So I cannot combo with Satoru. But I probably don't need to combo with Satoru here because I have Cephalic Coliseum. I only need to hit Dread Return and Thassa's Oracle to try to win the game. My opponent is passing the turn without a move. They have Gaia's Cradle and other 2 unknown cards. The Icorrid will wait a little bit more. And I will dredge 6 here. I'll have Dread Return, Cabal Therapy, and 2 Grave Trolls. Let's crack Cephalic Coliseum. I can win this game if nothing happens. Should I cast Cabal Therapy first, just to see my opponent's hand? I think if they had an Endurance, they already would use Endurance before I dredge, I think. So I don't think they have Endurance, that's why I didn't cast Cabal Therapy. And I still have at least... Well, my opponent is thinking here. They must have something. This is so tense. If this Cephalic Coliseum resolves and my opponent don't have anything... Oh, they have Fairy Macabre. Alright, so now I need to draw an enabler. Alright, another Cephalic Coliseum, so it was good to play my Cephalic Coliseum last turn, because now I can play this second Coliseum. Do they have another Fairy Macabre? I don't think so. Because if they had 2 Fairy Macabres, they could just exile my Dredgers. So let's dredge 6, dredge 5. We have 2 bridges now. 1 therapy, 2 therapies, dredge return. Do I dredge 4 or 5 here? If I dredge 5, I cannot dredge anymore. If Thassa's Oracle is really on the bottom of my deck, I will need to have some natural draws and I'll give more time to my opponent. Here, if I just dredge 4, I still have 1 Golgari Thug in the deck, so I can follow with another dredge 4 on my next turn. I think I should dredge 5 and just go for it. Try to win this turn. If I can't win this turn, if I don't find Thassa's Oracle, I have Cabal Therapy. I have 2 Cabal Therapies and I can wait 1 or 2 turns. I can even cast Otherworldly Gaze in the next turn. Yeah, let's Dredge 5. Yeah, Thassa's Oracle. So let's discard Grave Troll, Stinkweed Imp, and another Otherworldly Gaze. And now let's try to win the game. I should cast Cabal Therapy, but you know what? I don't think my opponent have anything here. I'll just try to win the game. I'm no fear, no fear. Let's see if my opponent has something. Can I win this game? Oh, my opponent is... They are activating Elvish Reclaimer just to exile my bridges, but I don't need them. I'm not trying to win with zombies. I'm trying to win with Thassa's Oracle. My opponent only have a Wooded Foothills. My bridges are getting exiled, and Poxwalkers enters the battlefield. I won. Oh, I won this game. I was so tired at the end of this game that I did the wrong move. Of course, I should cast Cabal Therapy before casting Dredge Return. But at some point, I was like a... At some point, I was like a boxy fighter, just hitting me. I don't want to wait anymore. I just okay. Let's pay attention here. Okay, we are 3-0, and this is our 4th match against JTL 005. This is the guy who won the last Legacy Showcase. Yeah, it's definitely him. And if I remember correctly, my opponent plays with Beanstalk decks. So let's keep this hand here. We are on the play. We have Careful Study, Cabal Therapy, 1 Dredger, but we will find other Dredgers. Let's start with a basic island. This league is getting better and better after winning against Cradle Control. Cradle Control, I mean. Okay, let's discard 2 Golgari Thugs. Our Careful Study just resolved. My opponent kept 7 cards, so they are confident in their deck. And here we can just pass a turn. We have Brainstorm to put Narcomoeba back on top next turn. Let's see what my opponent will play. And now, after starting with a 3-0, we are paired against the reigning champion, Legacy champion. So I will not try to cast Brainstorm yet, because I think my opponent don't have any counterspell. So I'll wait until they do a move here, and then I'll cast Brainstorm. This is counterintuitive, but I think this is the best way to resolve this Brainstorm right now. I'll cast this Brainstorm in response to the Brainstorm, and it has resolved. So Dredge 4, Dredge 6, and Dredge 6 again. Let's go, Narco. 1 Narco. My opponent plays white, but so this is not nothing to celebrate here. But we have 1 Dredger for next turn, and we have Poxwalkers and Cabal Therapy. So I'll put Narcomoeba on top, and I'm not sure if I should put Eco-Read on top, because Golgari Thug is so bad, only dredges 4, and I already have 4 Dredgers in my hand, so maybe I put only Narcomoeba and Grave Troll. Yeah, we already have 1 Poxwalkers, we will find other Poxwalkers, and if we feel that is needed, I can just Cabal Therapy myself, because I have 3 Cabal Therapies there, and I already have Poxwalkers, so I have infinite therapies. I can cast a Cabal Therapy targeting myself if I feel that's necessary. Now my opponent is resolving their Brainstorm. We don't have any other enablers here, but after Poxwalkers and so many Cabal Therapies, we already have 1 bridge. Even if my opponent removes Narcomoeba from the game with exiling effect, this should be enough. Unless my opponent have a really good sequence of counterspells here, and maybe Beanstalk or something like that. My opponent plays Misty, Brexit, Savannah. My opponent plays Ponder. Is my opponent playing around days? Maybe because previous versions of Blue Dredge had Daze and Force of Will in the main deck. So this Savannah being played before Ponder seems like a play around Daze move. And now they will cast Plowshares targeting Narcomoeba. Okay, this was expected. This is better than a Beanstalk. My opponent didn't shuffle with Ponder, so they like what they saw. Let's Dredge 4 here. We'll have 1 Narcomoeba, 2 Narcomoebas on our right. One of them we already know about it. The other is an extra. Let's resolve our first Cabal Therapy here, targeting my opponent. Do they have Solitude? Do they play Solitude? Let's see if this Narcomoeba will resolve. We have only 1 bridge. If this resolves, I will probably name Force of Will. Okay, it resolves. Do I name Force of Will actually? My opponent didn't have any counterspells last turn. Let's name Uro. Yeah, they have an Uro. And up the Beanstalk, and Leyline Binding, and Loring Revealed. So let's strip my opponent's hand now. Leyline Binding is a removal spell. I definitely want to remove that. Let's sacrifice Poxwalkers again. Triggers. And now I will take whatever. I will take everything. So let's take Leyline Binding first. Yeah. I'm not sure if I will take up the Beanstalk here. And maybe I should just cast Dredge Return just to have more zombies. But I still think I can win through the combo next turn. if I just hit Satoru. But my opponent can have something weird like an endurance main deck. So let's at least crack one crack. I'm always saying crack. Let's cast Cabal Therapy to take the Beanstalk from my opponent's hand. And then my opponent will have only lands and lottery revealed. My opponent kept something on top. That's why I'm thinking about casting this Dredge Return. But we don't have any payoff. This would be... I want this Grave Troll in my graveyard. Something tells me that my opponent has something really good on top of the deck. Maybe they have, I don't know, a Terminus effect or something to remove our creatures. But they kept something on top with Ponder. Let's pass it in here, but something tells me that maybe I should cast this Dredge Return only to put 2 more zombies into play. Ground Seal. Okay, too late now. Too late now. Now I cannot target anything with Dredge Return. So this is what my opponent was holding. And alright, but we still can win the game, right? We just need to reach something here. Another Narcomoeba is a good start. And we have another Poxwalkers, but unfortunately we cannot cast our Dredge Return here. This would be a winning move. Okay, we got a really good attack here. We have lethal next turn, but my opponent has an Uro coming from graveyard. They only need to play their last land. Or maybe they have something else, not only Uro. They play Tropical Island. They are going for Uro, alright. Now they are going back to 12 life. And now it's our turn again. We would almost have lethal if we could have lethal if we opted for the Dredge Return route last turn. We would have 2 more zombies and 1 Narcomoeba. And this would be lethal now. But okay, my opponent had a ground seal. So do I attack with 1 Narcomoeba? I could even keep Poxwalkers to block Uro, but I think I will be aggro here. I can discard Ichorid at the end of my turn. And we already have a Breach from below. I can block Uro just to have an extra zombie. If I attack with Poxwalkers, 3 zombies and Narcomoeba, my opponent will just block a zombie here. They will probably keep Uro around because they don't have anything else in their graveyard. Alright, that's exactly what happened. Now my opponent is down to 4 life, 3 life after fetching their Floated Strand. And now Brainstorm. Ground Seal in the main deck is something new. I'm not sure if it was my opponent who started to do that. But this is a smart move in this metagame because Ground Seal just hits hard all of the Reanimator, Scaminator decks that are running around. So, and it cycles, right? So for 2 mana you just... and this is an enchantment, so those decks usually don't have a good time against enchantments. So this is a meta call. And this just stops us of casting Dredge Returns, but we can still win the game without Dredge Return. Let's see. My opponent thought for a long time after that Brainstorm. We discarded our Ichorid. Now is my opponent's turn. They attack with Uro. No removal, so I can just block with Narcomoeba, at least for now. I block. My opponent needs something else because we have lethal on board again. Okay, Bridge triggers. We have Water Zombie in play. We are threatening 13 damage next turn. Okay, my opponent has other Uro. They are going back to 9 life. Our Bridge will be exiled. But with Ichorid, we are threatening 13 damage next turn. My opponent plays a land. If they remove a creature, we are still threatening 10 damage, right? 3, 6, 12, 13. Yeah. So they need 2 removal spells here. Okay, they cycle Lorien Revealed and play Tropical Island. They have 2 white mana. They can have 2 removal spells here. They are just passing. Or Ichorid will come back, exiling Satoru, because we cannot we cannot bring back Satoru with Dredge Return because of Ground Seal. So let's exile Satoru instead of Poxwalkers, of course. And we'll have a natural draw here. We don't have any Dredgers. But we still have lethal unless my opponent can remove 2 creatures. Oh, Dress Down. Dress Down works as a 1 creature removal here. Because my Ichorid doesn't have haste anymore. Oh, and then have a Source to Plowshares. Alright, alright. So let's draw. A land would be excellent, and we managed to draw a land like a champion. So now what? I cannot attack with Ichorid. Ichorid can just stay in the battlefield as a blocker for next turn, maybe. But let's crack this Cephalic Coliseum immediately. Trying to hit something here. Okay, Careful Study for next turn. I can now discard my Cabal Therapy. Cabal Therapy is a flashback card, so my Poxwalkers will come back when I cast it. Of course, I could just cast Outwardly Gaze, but I'm not sure if it will resolve. I think this is enough. Let's attack first. I think I don't want to block. I don't need to block Uro next turn. I just need to have more creatures and keep the pressure. Now my opponent is going back to 2 life. Of course, they can cast Uro again next turn. They can go back to wait. But if I put my Poxwalkers back with this Cabal Therapy here, what would I name? Probably Line Binding, because they already used 2 Source of Plowshares. Leyline, Binding. No, they have another Ground Seal. Alright. And Force of Will. Those cards are just blanks in this situation here. But of course my opponent can just draw 2 extra removals and win the game, right? Let's see. They attack, they play another land, and they deal 6 damage. We are really deep into our deck now. We have only 14 cards left. Okay, my opponent will cast Uro, I believe. Yeah, that's what's happening. My opponent will go back to 8 life. They put an extra land into the battlefield. Maybe they have something like a Wrath effect. And if they do, Ichorid is really good because Ichorid can just attack dealing 3 damage each turn. Okay, they are just cycling Ground Seal. Play another land. Putting Eorion into their hand. This is a good sign. Uro is a blocker, but my opponent need to have some removal here. They have Force of Will, Eorion, and an extra card. And I don't have a choice other than just attack here. Let's attack. And my opponent concedes. Alright. Alright. So we won game 1, even with double Ground Seal. This card is actually not that good against us. This card is good, of course. This card is good, of course, against Dread Return, but not a game-winning card. This card is much better against Reanimator. Okay, so now let's see here. I'll include Grief, of course. And since my opponent's winning condition seems to be Uro, I'm kind of inclined to include Surgical Extraction for the first time in this league. And I will take all the Dread Return package because my opponent will probably have something like 3 or 4 Ground Seals. So no Thassa's Oracle this game. I could keep 1 Dread Return and 1 Thassa's Oracle as a weirdly winning condition, but I don't think my opponent will remove Ground Seal from the deck. Maybe I need to just win with my both Breach from below, yeah? Yeah, and 4 Poxwalkers, of course, and Ichorid. I need to take 1 extra card from my deck, maybe 1 Thug. Yeah, and that's it. Alright, is this good enough? 2 Otherworldly Gazes, 1 Breakthrough. Let's see if this is good enough on the draw. We can always just discard Sync Imp if we feel that my opponent can have many counterspells. But with double Otherworldly Gaze, I'm not sure if this is the right move. Let's see. Okay, we draw another land, so I'll just play my first land and pass the turn. Just to avoid... okay, my opponent cracked Windswept Heath right now, so let's crack our fetch land 2 and try to resolve our first Otherworldly Gaze. I think my opponent will probably have something here. They kept 6 cards. We will keep Cradle Control on top. This seems a lot like other game that we had in this league, right? Otherworldly Gaze fighting Narcomoeba, Bridge, and Land. It seems a lot like one of other games that we had before today. Okay, my opponent went for a Surveil land. They kept on top, right? And play a Misty Rainforest. If my opponent just plays a Ground Seal, no, up the Beanstalk. Okay, I would say that that's okay because we don't have Dread Return anymore, and we don't target our graveyard. And if my opponent play Ground Seal, they probably don't have Surgical Extraction, right? Because Ground Seal say that both players cannot target cards in the graveyards. Oh, because of that, maybe I shouldn't have a Surgical Extraction. Well, now it's too late. Cabal Therapy will go to the graveyard. And do I keep Brainstorm? This is the Cephalic Elysium that I already knew about. You know what? I think I'll keep both cards. Yeah, because now I can cast Cabal Therapy targeting myself, triggering Breach, and then trying to resolve Breakthrough. Or just doing that. Or just seeing my opponent's hand. I can do so many moves here. I will not try to resolve Breakthrough, I think. Because I have the Cephalic Elysium, of course. So I will try to see my opponent's hand. Let's play slow. I will definitely name Force of Will here because I think my opponent have a Force of Will. This is such a slow start for a game against Beanstalk after sideboarding, so I think my opponent have something. So at least Force of Will I will name here if this Cabal Therapy resolve. Okay, my opponent had Force of Will and they used it before I can discard it, so they can have an extra card with Beanstalk. Now I have a zombie token and I can pass the turn here. My opponent plays another fetch land and Ground Seal. Okay, so my opponent cannot target my cards. I like that. Yeah, this card is good, but not so good against us. Let's draw our Brainstorm. And now that we have 3 enablers in our hand, I think I will just cast Otherworldly Gaze. Let's crack our fetch land to another basic island. And let's do it right now, because if this resolves, I can just... Okay, it resolved. I can put 2 Dredgers and an Narcomoeba into the graveyard. I'll have another Narcomoeba. Okay, I think my opponent don't have Endurance or something like that. So let's attack first. Okay, dealing 2 damage. And now I'll play Cephalic Elysium, and do I cast Breakthrough or Brainstorm? Let's cast Brainstorm first. If this Brainstorm resolves, this is almost a game-winning play. I'm not going for breakthrough because I think my opponent still have something. They have 4 cards in their hand. This is after sideboarding, so... Or maybe this is just my head being a control player in the wrong moment. I don't know. Okay, my opponent has something. They will crack their fetch land for a Tundra. Oh, this is just removal. That's right. Maybe my opponent have many removal spells in their hand. So let's dredge 6 and dredge 6 again. Or surgical extraction. And go Gargoyle Throw. And we have one Akomoiba. We have Poxwalkers in our hand. Let's see what my opponent is hiding. Let's sacrifice Nakumoiba. So we have 2 Poxwalkers in the breach. And we have other Cabal Therapy soon. Okay, let's name Leyline Binding, I think, because my opponent already have up the Beanstalk. Yeah, they have one of each, Leyline Binding, Source of Plowshares, and Uro. And let's take now their... Uro can exile or breach, but I think at this point it's better to just name Source of Plowshares here because it's a hard removal. Yeah, let's name Source to Plowshares. And now my opponent can cast Uro, but they need something on top. They need another mana, another land, and another removal. So they play Uro immediately. And we have Cephalic Coliseum and Breakthrough for next turn. My opponent draws a card, gain 3 life, exile or breach, and pass the turn. No extra land. Alright. So now what? We will dredge 5. Another Nakumoiba, great. Okay, my opponent concedes. Woo! We are 4-0 with this new build of Dredge. And now we are playing for the trophy. Can we win a trophy with this new build? No fear, no fear. Forces only in the sideboard. Let's see on our next match. Alright, we are on the play against Capi23. This hand is definitely a keep on the play. Let's see how this works. I will start cracking my Flooded Strand, of course. My opponent also kept 7 cards. So this is a basic island. We already have Underground Sea. And let's try to resolve Careful Study. It resolves, and we have a Cephalic Coliseum. Amazing. So we discard Grief Troll and Stick with Imp and pass the turn. Now is my opponent's turn. They draw, play Flooded Strand, and do nothing. Just pass the turn. Alright. So we will start dredging, and I'll probably crack the Cephalic Coliseum. This is a dredge 6. And my only fear here is that my opponent can have something like Stifle. There are some Stifle out decks, and even Tempo decks play Stifle these days. But I think I'll go for it, because even if my opponent have something to do here, we still have good plays next turn. Oh, they do have Stifle. They crack Flooded Strand in response for a Volcanic Island. So yeah, they they play Stifle. Okay, but this is not a GG. We have an Ichorid, we have other land for next turn. And we have a Cabal Therapy in our hand. This should be fine. My opponent plays Misty Rainforest and a Brainstorm. Okay. If my opponent have a Volcanic Island, this probably means that this is a Tempo deck, not a Tempo deck like Delver, I mean, and not Stifle Out. Because at least what I saw recently on Magic Online, Stifle Out decks don't have a red. Okay, my opponent cracks Misty, so they already used their Brainstorm to put some cards back into the deck, and they play Delver of Secrets. Now it's our turn. I will definitely bring back this Ichorid, and we will dredge 6. Alright, Cabal Therapy, Otherworldly Gaze is not the worst. Let's attack first, and I need to decide if I will cast this Cabal Therapy targeting my opponent, and if I want to cast other Cabal Therapy from my hand after that. This Ichorid deals damage, of course my opponent will not block. This first Cabal Therapy targets my opponent, and Lightning Bolt is always my first choice against Delver because they usually have it. Oh! Alright, hat-trick. Holy Bolts, Batman. Alright, 3 bolts. This is one of my best Cabal Therapies ever. And a Chain Lightning and a Dragon's Rage Channeler, alright. So my opponent is playing a different build with Chain Lightnings and Stifles. This is not the most popular build, I believe. So let's take... My opponent don't have Wastelands, so do I cast Otherworldly Gaze right now? I think it's the best move. Because since my opponent has an aggressive hand... Oh yeah, beautiful. My opponent has an aggressive hand for next turn, and I will have a Cephalic Coliseum. Finally. Unless my opponent have another Stifle. So let's see if this Delver will flip. 3 Lightning Bolts, amazing. Okay, my opponent has Wasteland. But we have a beautiful and better land on top. Okay, my opponent will empty their hand. So future Cabal Therapies will not target my opponent. Oh, I don't have double red mana. 3 Lightning Bolts, amazing. So this should be an easy game for my opponent with 12 damage with Lightning Bolt. But okay, this Ichorid will come back, and now I will just draw Cephalic Coliseum. Let's attack first, right? My opponent will not block, of course. And after attacking, I can easily resolve, activate Cephalic Coliseum. My opponent has nothing. So we will dredge 6 and dredge 4 and 4 again. Okay, not much, but we have Poxwalkers, 1, 2, 3 Poxwalkers in my hand. I can discard Cabal Therapy. And okay, we have a double Dredge Return and Thassa's Oracle, so this should be a winning turn. I can discard Satoru, Cabal Therapy, and Poxwalkers, yeah. So I can target myself with Cabal Therapy, triple Poxwalkers coming back. And this is probably game I will name Grave Troll. Yeah, I have 3 of them. 3 Lightning Bolt and 3 Golgari Grave Troll. Best Cabal Therapy ever. And now it's time to reanimate Satoru. I can sacrifice 3 Poxwalkers that will come back. This is the best synergy from our deck. 3 Poxwalkers plus Dredge Return. We have infinite Dredge Returns. Okay, my opponent just concedes. Bridges have multiple triggers. Okay, we have our final game, maybe. Let's win our next game and have this trophy. So, alright, against my opponent's deck, we already know that for Grief is useful. But my opponent also has Stifle. This is the first time in this league that maybe I want to include Force of Will, because I don't know what else my opponent can have. We played against Delver twice before this round, and my other Delver opponents didn't have Stifle. They have other things. I could, of course, include Chain of Vapor, and then I can take 1 Breakthrough and 1 Poxwalkers. I still think the best move is only include for Grief, but maybe we can try something different. I'm not sure. Or maybe you can just do the same as the other rounds. Yeah, you know what? Let's do the same thing. It worked before. This is a new build, and I'm still thinking about the best way to sideboard here. Yeah, I think for Grief is probably the best. As I said before, we can win against Delver even if they have something like Gravedigger's Cage. Alright, this hand is a mulligan. You know what? I think I will keep this hand, just because of Lotus Petal, solely on Lotus Petal. Because I can discard Golgari Grave Troll. Okay, my opponent starts the game with Flooded Strand. I can discard Golgari Grave Troll, and if Golgari Grave Troll finds us another Dredger, I can crack Cephalic Coliseum on turn 2, even without an island. Oh, and we draw another Cephalic Coliseum, so yeah, that's the play. I will discard Golgari Grave Troll due to hand size. My opponent kept 7 cards, and they have an aggro start with Delver flipping and a Lightning Bolt in hand. They play another Delver. Oh, and passes. They don't have a second land. Alright. So we'll dredge 6. My opponent don't have anything against us. Okay, we found a Golgari Thug, but we unfortunately found a Narcomoeba. I think I need Narcomoeba, so we will not crack Cephalic Coliseum. I could ignore Narcomoeba and crack Cephalic Coliseum, but since we already have only a Golgari Thug, I don't want to say no to my resources. So let's keep this Narcomoeba. I'll play Island. And let's keep Lotus Petal for now. Let's see if this other Delver will flip. And oh, to Chain Lightning. This is scary. Okay, my opponents still have only 1 land, but they now attack us, dealing 6 damage. Let's see if they will try to hit Narcomoeba here, or me, or no one. So we'll dredge 4. Another Narcomoeba. That's good. Unfortunately, no other dredgers. So now we must think. Do I still wait 1 more turn here? Can we do this? I think I will attack with 1 Narcomoeba. Let's see how my opponent will respond. And then I will try to cast a Cabal Therapy targeting me. Since my opponent seems to not have a Graveyard Hate, they have this aggro hand. Maybe they have Daze, but we are immune to Daze right now. They can cast only 1 Daze. My opponent is considering here, maybe targeting my Narcomoeba with a Bolt. My opponent is thinking for a long time. Maybe their hand is only Chain Lightnings and Lightning Bolts like before. Okay, maybe they have Stifle. Alright, this Narcomoeba deals 1 damage. And now I will cast Cabal Therapy targeting me. Sacrificing Narcomoeba. Let's see if this resolves. I hope it does resolve. Even if my opponent has another Stifle, I can just crack a Cephalic Coliseum next turn again. I just want to avoid too many Lightning Bolts. Okay, my opponent will move here. We'll have a move. Lightning Bolt on my face. Alright. Maybe my opponent also thought that I was targeting them because, okay, I will name Golgari Grave Troll, because this wasn't important to be doing before I resolve my Cabal Therapy, right? But maybe my opponent thought that I was targeting them. And now I can crack my Cephalic Coliseum. I will play it. I will play my Lotus Petal, since my opponent now knows about it. And it will allow us to just cast other things around the days. We already have a Dredge Return. Let's dredge 6, dredge 4. Okay, Narco, Bridge, beautiful, and Dredge 5, beautiful. We probably have the win here. We have 2 therapies, 1 Dredge Return, 1 Satoru, 1 Breach. I will discard Poxwalkers. I don't think I need to discard Icorit. Let's discard Dredgers, so it will be easier to chain or dredging. So yeah, let's try to end this league with a combo finish. So Narcos enter the battlefield, and let's cast this first Cabal Therapy. This is the time. My opponent has something. This is their time to fire their something. Okay, Poxwalkers enters the battlefield. Bridge resolves. This Cabal Therapy resolves, and I will name Chain Lightning. 2 Chain Lightnings and another Lightning Bolt and a Daze. Amazing. Alright, so let's win this game. Dredge Return, sacrificing 3 creatures. It doesn't matter, because I'll have another creature to sacrifice soon. So yeah, 2 bridges triggering, 1 Poxwalkers coming back. Let's resolve everything here. Satoru enters and Satoru triggers itself. So now we'll dredge 6. And now we have double therapy here. So let's take Lightning Bolt or Pyroblast, or both. Sacrificing Poxwalkers. Poxwalkers enters the battlefield. Satoru will chain another Dredger. Go get withdraw, dredge 6. We found another bridge from below. Okay, I will name Lightning Bolt. Yeah, my opponent has Lightning Bolt. And now let's do this again. Oh, I am targeting my opponent, but probably I should target myself here, right? My opponent will not do anything. I should target myself because now I have a slight chance of whiffing because I have... Yeah, now I have only Dredge Return. Okay, so let's take Pyroblast, of course. So my opponent cannot deal with my Narcomoeba. And now, unfortunately, I will pass the turn. I can cast this Dredge Return only to have blocker, an extra blocker maybe. Do I do this? This Dredge Return is a guarantee win next turn, because I will mill Thassa's Oracle. I already have Thassa's Oracle. But if I cast it right now, I don't have the win, because I need at least Devotion 5 to win this game, because I have only Dredge Return, or only Stinkweed Imp. I don't have any other Narcos in the graveyard. Yeah. This was a punt. I should have targeted myself with Cabal Therapy, naming Go Get Withdraw. So I would have Dredge 6 available to me right now. And since this happened, I think the best move here is just passing the turn. This is a different build from my opponent. I will not put myself into a situation that can cast something like, I don't know, Pyroclasma or something, and win the game. So my opponent casts Brainstorm. This probably means that we won, right? My opponent attacks, alright. I will block 1 Delver with an Narcomoeba. It triggers my bridges. Now I have Lethal on board. And my opponent passes, alright. Let's win. Okay, my opponent concedes. Woo! That's great. That's great. We won the match 2-0 against Delver. We won 2-0 almost all of our matches today, instead of... we just lost a single game. We had a trophy. That's my first trophy this season, because I am not playing that many leagues. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about our deck. This is so exciting. Alright, let's hold our excitement for a moment and do a quick review about this build, this version 4.5 Blue Dredge. Well, Breakthrough was amazing, especially because now we know better about what to expect, right? When we have a breakthrough in other builds of Dredge, in LED Dredge for example, or even in Turbo Dredge with Liscana and Anger, we usually don't... We have some fear about using this card without understand what we will do next. Because sometimes we will just mill our entire deck, but since we don't always can win on the same turn, Breakthrough is a suspicious card, especially if my opponent plays other cards like, well, green decks or lands or other decks that can win in the backswing. Combo decks can win against us even after a successful Breakthrough. But now that we have this combo with Satoru, Thassa's Oracle, and Dredge Return, and with only 2 bridges surprisingly working in this build, and 4 Poxwalkers for the very first time, I think this maybe is a possible way to keep dredging after this league. So far, including this league, I played 20 matches with these exactly 75 cards. And after 20 matches, I had 15 wins and 5 losses. But some of my losses were due to my inexperience with Double Bridge. Sometimes I got the same mindset that, okay, I just need to find a bridge from below to win this game because I already have Cabal Therapy. And no, because I only have 2. So I need, working on this deck and playing this deck, we need to think that a bridge from below is not our plan A. It's good when it works, but our plan A is the combo and Poxwalkers. And Poxwalkers were amazing in this build. I was almost, I don't know, insecure about using 4 Poxwalkers before trying this build, because Poxwalkers is a card that you don't need to have 4 of them, right? Even if you want to combo. But if you want to combo, you have to have a deck that is reliable, that you can find your pieces easier. And that's why I included also a Gogai Thug this time, because at least in my test, gold fishing with this deck before my first league, I noticed that sometimes I can win on turn 2. We didn't see this happening too much in this league because we played a lot against counter spells, but having more blue cards, more blue enablers like Breakthrough, Careful Study, or the Legacy and Brainstorm worked beautifully, and we didn't need Force of Will against Control. I usually side out my Forces of Will after sideboarding if I have forces in the main deck, and maybe this is also why we had so much success in this league, because we felt we had 4 matches against control decks, tempo decks, and Force of Will is not that good against them. It's better to have more things to do. Do I miss days with this build? Not that much, because since we already have more enablers, days is not that it's not that a need like before. If my opponent counters one of them, I'll find another. At least it seems so. So I really like where this is going, and it's finally a deck. This is finally a deck with 4 Poxwalkers. For many other times, other builds, I thought for a long time, thinking how can I include 4 Poxwalkers in the same deck, and this just works. I think this is probably my main road from now, working on Blue Dredge. Finally, I got the numbers right. If we separate here in different columns, you'll see. I will do this and then I will cut to the end to show you something. Okay, this is more or less like I see the deck as I understand the deck. We have some of a ladder here, right? We have 15 mana sources, we have 13 enablers, we have 12 dredgers, we have 11 threats between Arcomoeba, Euclid, Poxwalkers, and Bridges. Those are threats, cards that can enter the battlefield or create triggers, in the case of Bridge from Below, to just achieving what we need to finally combo with the other 9 cards. Of course, Satoru is also an enabler. Cabal Therapy can be an enabler. This is a synergy deck. This is a combo deck when we have everything. But if we don't have everything, if you have only Poxwalkers, you can win the game, as we saw here, after my opponent exiling my entire deck, but they couldn't exile my Poxwalkers because I had a chance to bring back Poxwalkers at instant speed, and this is amazing. Ecorvid would not have this chance. So yeah, this is more or less like I see the deck. We have more mana sources. Lotus Petal worked good. It did some job. It did some work in our last game, because my opponent had days, and because of Lotus Petal they couldn't use days. But yeah, Breakthrough was amazing. 4 Poxwalkers worked. Yeah, I think this deck is great. Let me know what you thought about this. After seeing this league, let me know if you want to try this deck at your local game store. If you play Magic Online, say hi. Say hi, say who are you in Magic Online. So I hope you enjoyed this league. If you didn't do this yet, click the like button, subscribe, and finally leave a comment below if you enjoyed this moment with me. I hope you did. Thank you. See you on the next week. Bye.